Basically, we'll try our best to see if we can solve all the first pages. Then you can go ahead and try your try to answer the rest of the questions, because they will follow the same pattern, and I believe you'll be okay with solving these problems. I have linked the question paper on this video. It's currently in my description below. All right, question number 6. So for question number 6, it's also a Desmos question. Question number 6 is a Desmos question. It says that what are the ratios or the zeros of a quadratic equation are -3 and 7. What are its axes? Now remember, when we have two zeros, -3 and -7, +7, zeros also are the solutions of a quadratic equation. So remember, zeros are the solutions of a quadratic equation, or what we call the x-intercept. All right, so if I have these two solutions, it means that I can express it as x plus 3, which when I equate to 0, I'm going to get x to be -3, right? X plus 3 is one of the function or equation. Then I have x minus 7 to be one of the other solutions. So if I equate both of these to 0, I'll be able to get x plus 3 to give me 0, which means x will be -3. And if I equate x minus 7 to 0, it means x is +7. So these are the two solutions that came out, -3 and 7, which means that my binomial function or my binomial equation that brought me this equation is this one, x plus 3 and x minus 7, which is the binomial function. You were looking at, there's a trinomial question because it's a quadratic equation, right? But when two items are multiplying, we call them binomial too, right? Okay, so let's go to Desmos, okay, and graph this equation. So when we go to Desmos and graph this equation, we are going to put it in as x plus 3, then x minus 7. Immediately you finish, it graphs the equation for you, which means you don't have to do anything. All you got to do is to come down to see what your axis of symmetry is. The axis of symmetry happens at the x value of the minimum or maximum. There's a minimum graph, which means it curves down. The u turns out down. So it means that it turns out at when x is 2. Let's get back to our question and see if we have that. So we go back to our question and we can see that x is 2 over here, which means we don't have to do anything to this problem. This is a Desmos problem. I can work it inactive, but I don't want to bore you with that right now. We want to make sure we maximize the time we have currently. The next one is also a Desmos question. It wants you to find the distance between the zeros, right? We've already indicated that the zeros are the solution to our quadratic equation over here. Okay, they are the solution to our quadratic equation. So question number 7 is the distance between those two equations. Let's go and graph these equations in Desmos and see how the graph turned out to be. So if we go out and we graph this equation, we are going to get x squared minus 4x minus 21. So this is the distance that we are seeing right now. There's the distance between them. To find the distance between this graph, we just need to subtract what the zeros are. So if we subtract 7 minus -3, we get +10. So this is the distance between the graph. This is how to find the distance in x-axis. You just have to subtract the ends, the zeros. This is just one plane. Okay, one plane means that the y values are 0. We just have one x plane. So it means when we subtract them, we'll be able to find the distance between these 2 points. And that gives us our solution. So if we come down here, our solution is just 7 minus -3, which adds up to 10. So our solution is 10 units. Okay, 10 units. All right, thank you. So let's go to question number 8. It's a Desmos problem. but this time it wants you to try your best to get the function first, which is a Desmos problem. The sum of two positive integers. So we don't know what those integers are. Let the positive integers be x and y. So let's those two integers that we don't know become x and y. All right, that's for question number 8. So we have that if the sum of the two integers is 20, so we have x plus y equals to 20. The difference of the two integers is 4. We have x minus y equals to 4. What is the product of the two integers? What is the product of the two integers? This is a very simple problem. You can solve them by hand if you want to, but as I always say, if it's a calculator active, please use the Desmos. Please go back and use the Desmos. Don't waste your time trying to worry your brain. So we go back, you've written the equation down, we put it in, x plus y is equal to 20, then x minus y is equal to 4. X minus y is equal to 4, sorry. So now we have this solution, right? Which means that my x is 12 and my y is 8. It's already over here. It's solved for me. So let's go back. We just try and multiply them since they said they want x and y. So we do 12 times 8. And that gives us 96. So the solution to this problem is 96. So when we get back here, it says that we have 12 times 8, which gives us 96. So we just write 9 and 6 in the boxes respectively. I think this is the problems that they give you to write each number in a box. So remember, if you're writing each number in the box, don't put all the answers in one box. Just separate them as 9 and 6. Now, this is the calculator inactive. Also, this is saying there are 16 team players, right? There are 16 teams in a soccer tournament. The number of teams remaining after X rounds can be modeled by f of x is equal to 16 half x, right? This is telling you that what is the reasonable domain. Now, domain, we already know domain of a function. Domain of the function is the x value, right? So the x values of a function are our domain. All right, if that is the case, what is the highest domain we can go? So with this model of a problem, if we have the total number of people on the team to be 16, if this x value turn out to be 0, okay, we get this whole function. Any number raised to the power 0 is 1, so that gives us 16 times 1 is 16, right? If we model, this is, if we have half to the power 1, which means 16 times half is 8, right? If we have 16 half 2, we get 16 times 1 over 4, which gives us 4. And if we have 16 half 3, this gives us 16 1 over 8, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, which gives us 2. And if we have 16 1 half of 4, that means 16 divided by 1 over 16, which is 1. So we can see that the highest number we can go for this equation is 16. And then that's for 4. And then our x value that will be least is 0. So this means that it's all the integers between 0 and 4. So that gives you the answer solution C. Okay, so this is very tricky, but you just need to take your time on it. It's not just all the numbers that go beyond x, okay? That's not just all numbers less than 4. No, that's not the answer choice. You have to be careful about it. It says reasonable domain. So the reasonable domain, we can't get negative numbers for a soccer team players, right? This is between 0 and 4, which gives us the least number, and the maximum can be 16. All right. So let's look at so for question number 10, Sarah earns $8 per hour plus 2 for each item she sells, which means that if Sarah earns 8 per hour, which means that's her initial fee or initial amount that they pay her, and $2 for each item she sells. How many items will Sarah sell to earn $40 per hour? So this is y equals to 40. If it was a decimals problem, if you put this in decimals, it's going to just draw the equation for you to know where the lines intersect and see how many items she sells for X to get $40. So we have to just equate it and solve it. So if we equate this equation and solve it, we subtract 8 and subtract 8, we'll get 32 is equal to 2x. Then if you divide by 2, your x value is going to be 16. So that is your answer choice for question number 10, and that brings us to the end of this problem. Please go ahead, try your best to solve the problems. They will help you really much in your check-in. And if you have any question, please put it in the comment section, and I'll do best to solve that problem for you, or I think some of the students down there or some of the instructors or teachers here will help you solve the problem. Thank you very much, and thank you for purchasing my product. Thank you.